Assemble, please. This is from me to us. I call it Students' Guide. VK.
Richard was a high school boy, very brilliant, always top in his class. Hey, Kristen was no different, very beautiful, pretty and cute. See, high school boy running, high school girl, the order of the day. Hey, what's a word? Riding on their bike, sharing yoga temple, love a person on study strike. See, love is sharing in the expense of good, giving promises they don't even understand. Sooner than later, the unexpected happen in 9 months. They will be father and mother. Richie is a large job for hearing the news. His footprints cannot be traced. Hey, Christine is very sad. With her hands above the head, she cries, saying, "How I know it's always a last, never joke with your education. I now know it's always the best to learn hard when you are in school. How I know it's always a last, never joke with your education. I now know it's always the best to learn hard when you are in school." And I ordinary Chris, no, 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 me. I ordinary math, no, friend, say, boy, you are your mafia. I change me, I say, me, friend, I ordinary Chris, no, 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 me. I ordinary math, no, friend, say, boy, you are your mafia. I change me, I call me. And I'm a woman, me, madam, me, wants to have me, show me, not PM. Me walk baby, I'm from so I can be in the shy. The Muruyan can catch you from one to the end. You know, this year, the Yamia, the Mr. can be a fan to touch. You go about my church of one, yet when I'm share a brema for. I'm a child, man, some of the some, and to trust some any young person. I mean, what's your dear? I'm on a team of any petty to be. Some of my Ghana, I'm a bit my Abaya Krabashai, and Ilea, necessary, Ilea, necessary, Ilea, necessary, Jaffrey said, or Jenny, oh, Ilea, necessary, Ilea, necessary, Ilea, necessary, Jaffrey said, or Jenny, oh. And I know it's always a last, never joke with your education. I now know it's always the best to learn hard when you are in school. And I know it's always a last, never joke with your education. I now know it's
Hello to our viewers in Ghana and the rest of the world. You are tuned into News Magazine with me, Irbad Ibrahim, and
Abna Safo.
And this show, as you know, is agenda-driven. We are having a very exhaustive discussion around education to tackle some of the problems we have in that sector. And today is no different. We have a people's teacher in the person of David to help us make a sense of what happens in those classrooms when parents are far away. You just can't afford to miss that conversation. But before then, Abna, what do you have for us by way of trending news?
Okay, we've got packed stories for today. I'll quickly take you to our stories for the day. Labor unions at KNUST, including UTAG, have restored services they suspended in the wake of a bitter conflict with the government. This from my Joy Online. What's your take on this?
My position on the crisis in KNUST is clear. It's been as crystal clear as anything right from the get-go. I think maybe there was breakdown in communication, but the students were wrong to have gone on rampage on campus. Then we were told within a fortnight, within 2 weeks, classes would resume. If I'm not mistaken, it's been more than 2 weeks now. Attempts were made to dissolve the governing board and do other things. So therefore, the restoration of services is a welcome piece of news so that our younger ones will go back to school. As they are away, their colleagues in UDS, UCC, UG are learning. And competitors, they will be jostling with within the same international job market. I also in Joburg and New York and London going to school. So why stay home?
Exactly.
And some of the foreign students feel endangered as well.
I know.
So we are giving them extra protection. It was bad PR for us from an international relations point of view. So it's refreshing that they are beginning to find reason for them to go back
to school. But do you
but
really
you held
think
a
that
different view because
yes.
of a video you saw of a student
Yeah, I
being
know.
portrayed.
Well, I think that the students were not totally, wrong in a way, because I think any initiative or any time you're taking a decision, students should be involved. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Because you're dealing with students, and some people are even as old as the lecturers. It's just because of education, and so we'll have to be under them. So if decisions are being taken, they should be involved
and then
in every decision taken.
Not only with the security people,
Okay.
even with the lecturers. And the world has moved on beyond the usual one-way traffic.
Yeah.
You don't actually even have to call it a lecture.
Yeah.
It's an interaction. It's a two-way traffic.
Okay.
So sometimes I lecture, so you go to a lecture hall, you throw a topic for discussion, and you'll be shocked at the quantum of research some of the students in the audience have done. So therefore, they need to be treated as co-equals, so to speak, even though your career is to teach them.
Definitely.
So beyond this, crisis, I believe there should be mutual respect between school authorities and the students. But I still hold on to my guns that we don't need single-sex dormitories to get the best quality of graduates we want. All the, male dormitories can be converted. Even this Vandal Hall, Commonwealth Hall in UG, I recommend could also be converted into a mixed hall. And then Volta Hall, which is an all-female hall, could also be converted. I can't find any single evidence, any empirical evidence, that sleeping as boys or young men and then going to lectures with young women changes your academic fortunes. Yeah. If anybody has done that research, the person can gladly share with us. Why do we sit in the same space and learn, and we can't be in the same dormitory? Yeah. And it's not like when you go to a dormitory, I was in a Kwafo hall, and we were on E block, the ladies were on M. And so for me, that occultic activity, those occultic activities and this sense of brinksmanship and show of bravado in all male halls, that is not what we need now. We need focused people, and we can mix those halls.
I totally agree with you with that one, because I think it would also bring discipline in the various dormitory or in the school, to be precise. Okay, away from that, the next one says, sack arrogant Agric minister for sidelining as Concerned Farmers Association. This is from City News.
There are some few ministries that are very huge, and the Agric ministry is one of those. Okay. There are ministries where you can have 3 or 4 rooms, 7 as offices, and that's all. Okay. But the Agric ministry, the health ministry, the education ministry, the foreign affairs ministry, these are huge ministries. So therefore, even though I can't hold brief for the Honorable Minister Fury, is a huge ministry, and the task is enormous. And therefore, maybe he can't get, everybody can't just get his attention. Definitely. He's working on planting for food and jobs. He's working on a host of other issues. So therefore, I believe there needs to be a proper channel of communication with the minister so that the grievances that this association of farmers has could also be addressed. Yeah,
and I think sacking him wouldn't solve the problem. Just as
in Ghana, when you suffer some PR, people ask that you be sacked. Yeah. I don't think, chopping off the head all the time results in the systemic failures we have in our state institutions.
Sure. Okay, away from that, the next one says 22,279 teachers promoted. That's of 11,521 denied by GES.
There's some turbulence within the education sector, and much so on the front of teachers. Okay. You remember the licensure, proposition that has been activated, and now you have to keep writing to have a license before you can continue practicing. Yeah. So people want to be promoted, and promotion comes with
Hard work.
increase, better conditions of service, better remuneration,
Exactly.
and all that. So therefore, for those that qualify, I believe they need to be promoted. But that space, the education space, is a space to watch, because it could be a determining factor in the election in 2020. So we need to resolve all the issues there are that should be resolved. That has to do with teachers, with the quality of education we give, the living conditions of students, and a host of others.
Yeah, I think they shouldn't be only in promoting teachers or other government workers, but it should also be initiated in every institution. If you work hard, you get to be promoted. If you don't,
the
you should be
problem with
put
Ghana,
aside.
Abena, is that we don't reward hard work. Look around.
But I
Most
think
of the
it's wrong.
successful people in this country are people you can't say, we saw you start selling petty wares.
Yeah.
People just come out of nowhere. I don't want to mention Men's Gold, but
Yeah.
people don't really ask, how did you make this much?
Yeah.
It's all about bring the money, it's harvest time in church, or we are going to do something in the mosque, or the local community is doing something, come do it. Nobody questions
So
you.
they don't even really care about how
so
you started
teachers
and where
who
you got
spent
into
20
it.
years, teaching, their lives are not anything to write home about. People who serve this country, office clerks and other people, nobody actually celebrates them. So therefore, if we reward hard work, we'll have a very productive nation with a population that is ready to die for this country.
Sure. Then the next one says, I stand by comments on RTI bill. Criticize me if you want. KT Hammond, this is from City News.
RTI is right to information bill. It's been lying on the desks for so long. It's gone through cabinet, it's on the floor of parliament. So some people are saying we need to give more biting teeth to the advocacy for that legislation to be passed. So that if you have any issues with Ameri, with whatever, you can duly write to a state institution, and the state institution will respond to you as an ordinary citizen. But in Ghana, you just don't address a ministry and get a response. Even the email addresses state institutions use, many of them are defunct. You go to their websites, there's nothing new to see. So therefore, there is a seeming, gap between those we have elected or we've appointed to serve the citizens and then the citizens. So therefore, I believe it boils down to communication, and as much as possible, whatever we can do to make it more efficient, we need to do as a country.
Okay. Moving from the local front to the international, huge fall in female genital mutilation rates for African girls. This is from BBC.
FGM, we know the history of FGM. The clitoral region of the genitalia of girls would normally be, chamfered off so that they don't have a high libido. But that can also render them rigid. So they give birth, but they don't get all the complements of that biological process or exercise that leads to childbirth. The UN has come out to say it's wrong. The African Union says the same. ECOWAS says the same. But a lot of outreach needs to be done in Ghana. You may be in Accra and think FGM doesn't exist. Go to the hinterlands. So we call on NCCE, the Ghana Health Service, to, as a matter of urgency, increase the outreach so that we educate mothers, we educate, rural folk generally about the harm such a thing can cause the girls later in life, so that they grow the way they are supposed to grow, rather than having certain parts of their bodies chamfered off.
That's cool. Anyway, we're done with the news. Our trending news for today. I'll be back with comments. Everybody's got a exciting discussion with our guest on studio. You're still watching News Magazine on Kansanka TV, and my name is Abena Safo.
That is Abena Safo. Abena, thank you so much. You keep your WhatsApp messages coming. Abena will come later in the show to read them. We go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we sit with a class 3 to class 6 teacher of creative arts, Mr. David Tenkran, you can't afford to miss it. Do stick and stay with us.
Do you want to enroll your ward in a school where quality basic education, discipline and moral upbringing is our hallmark? Then come to Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Basic School. Great Asas, Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences has vacancies in preschool, lower and upper primary, JHS 1 and JHS 2, with spacious and ventilated classrooms. The school also has excellent boarding facilities for students from upper primary to JHS. Great Asas also has a well-stocked library, a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home, with adequate security measures to ensure your ward's safety. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Preschool has state-of-the-art learning materials to make learning fun for your ward. We also have the Cadet Corps and a cultural troupe to tap hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshi Last Stop, Accra. Great Asa!
Hello, lovely people of Africa. African Youth Time. This is the show, as I rightly said, that gives African youth the platform to have an up-close with living legends who are helping build the continent.
The youth of Africa, they have a lot of potential.
What is killing Africans is our inability to discover and identify our potentials and what we can do for ourselves.
Nobody makes you a leader. You become a leader.
We are not poor. The resources in Congo alone can feed the whole Africa.
Never
You're welcome. Tuned into News Magazine. This show is agenda driven and we are discussing education. Backroom, there are a lot of people that are working tirelessly to bring this show to you. We have the leader of the production team, Mr. Kofi Obuobi. He's a royal from Eburi. Your efforts are appreciated. And there is a cameraman I like so much, Kofi Safo. Kofi Safo wants to say to his mother, Mabina, that he loves her. And so, Mommy, wherever you are. And Director 1, Shasha, and the Commander-in-Chief, today is your father's birthday as well. So, Shasha's dad, we wish you a very happy birthday and many happy returns. May you live to be 100 and beyond. And today, the topic we are going to discuss is very important. It falls within the framework of our discussion on GES Basic School Model and its effects. And today, we have in the studios David Tenkran. David Tenkran is a teacher. He teaches creative arts. Dave, thank you so much for making time. Okay, before we came on set, I had a very lively conversation with you. David, what's the name of the school where you teach?
Yeah, the name of the school where I teach is West Hatch School at Kwabena.
Okay.
Adjacent to Balloon Gate.
Okay. So it's not a public school, it's a private school.
It's a private school.
You've been there since 2012.
Yes, please.
And David, you teach classes 3 to 6.
Yes.
How does a normal day look like for you in school? When do you have to report? How much time do you spend with each class? And what time do you close?
Right. The days look normal to me because I know as a teacher you need to prepare before you get to the class. So I always prepare before getting to the school. So the days look normal to me.
So like you should be in class by 8 a.m. or which time?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in school latest by 7:30.
What happens at that time?
From 7:30 to 7:40, we may have silent hour for the kids. Then 7:40, the bell goes for assembly. Go out, we conduct our assembly, and then we get back to the class exactly 8 o'clock. So lesson begins exactly 8 o'clock.
Okay. And how do you go around? On a Wednesday like today, would you go to class 3 for 2 hours, then go to class 4, class 5? So between 8 and 9, what would happen normally?
All right. Wednesdays, I do go to class 4 and class 6. But today, I don't have a class with it.
Okay, so for class 4, 8 o'clock after assembly, and we will go into what you teach. Okay. But we want to make a sense of what the routine of a basic school teacher is. 8 to 8 what do you teach your first subject?
Each subject has been allocated. We have 80 minutes for each subject.
80 minutes, that's 1 hour, 20 minutes.
Yes, 1 hour, 20 minutes. So Wednesdays, for instance, we may have worship. After the worship, we go for snack. So the lesson starts exactly 9 to 9:40.
So why worship? Like, why? But you talked about the silent hour or quiet time.
Yeah.
Well, why do you have to? I remember in that time we were going to church to read, hymns and all that. Why do we perpetuate that? And why Wednesday? I'm surprised.
It depends on the school. It depends on the school. They brought worship to Wednesday, but in some schools it's Friday, but we have it on Wednesday.
Okay. So you teach creative arts. So for the 1 hour 20 minutes that you do, 80 minutes with class 4, all of that is street teaching, or you do quizzes for every session you have?
Yeah, in teaching we have something we call RPK. That's relevant previous knowledge. So when you enter the class, you need to know the relevant previous knowledge of the children before you stand on that for the teaching. If you don't know the relevant previous knowledge of the children, then your teaching is going to be very difficult. Because based on the RPK, you'll be able to identify the IQs of the children. You know, some may have high IQ, others may have low, and others may have average. So you do these comparisons and then you can start with your teaching.
And like the ratio, how do you do this comparison or assessment before you start? You are one teacher teaching about how many kids in class 4?
Well, 30.
30.
Yes.
You think that is standard, that is reasonable compared with other schools you've heard of?
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Do you have enough ample time to do one-on-one interactions with the kids?
Yeah, the one-on-one interaction is after the teaching. After the teaching, we have one-on-one interaction with the kid, especially those with the IQ.
Low IQs.
Yes. And if you're a teacher and you want to teach, you not base on the high IQ of the children, but you base on the low IQ of the children to teach with.
So that you carry everybody along.
Yes.
Yes. So what has been your evaluation? Kids from poor backgrounds, do they do worse than kids from relatively, you know, rich backgrounds?
In fact, I haven't come across poor children coming from a poor background or something like that. Because our school is a British school, so these kids are
a British guy.
These kids are well to do.
Okay.
They don't lack anything.
Wow.
Yes.
So you teach in an elitist school then?
Pardon?
You teach in an elitist school?
Yes.
A privileged school?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you think everybody is fairly doing great,
yeah.
But some you really get poor grades, which is natural.
It depends. It depends the caliber of children you are handling. So it is left for you, the teacher, to assess each child and know what is going on with the child.
Okay. I will take you to specifics because we are looking at the models and their effects. Give us a sense of what creative arts is. I have a copy of your, you know, how you go about things for basic classroom 3, P3. Okay. So creative arts, what do you teach? What goes into it?
Creative art is about artworks. You know, we have some children who are really good in art, but they don't have the privilege to bring it out. That is why the GES decided to initiate this creative art activity so that we can get to the children who are very good in artwork. And creative art is about educating the heart, the hands, and the mind as well.
I'm surprised. I thought the heart was only about biology.
No.
So how do you educate the heart?
You know, it is about the passion the person will get in creating something. And as for the hands, that's the physical thing that the child will be able to come up with. And then, you know, when we talk of the mind, we are talking about the psychology and other things.
So as a teacher, when you step into a classroom, you take into cognizance all these faculties you need to target. Did you have any special training for this? Because you said you surprisingly studied hotel in catering, and then institutional organization at Accra Technical University. And so did you take any short courses before you started teaching?
My creativity, I had my creativity in SHS. I offered visual arts. So that gave me the opportunity to be more creative. So even when I entered into the teaching field, I didn't start with creativity. I started with math, science, English, environmental studies, now citizenship education.
Okay.
Then as times went on, they realized that I'm good at artwork. but I didn't reveal it for them to see. But you know, some proprietors and proprietors, they are really, let me say, inquisitive. They want to know everything about you. And then they tested me, and then they realized that I would be good at it. And then they added the creativity as well.
And that has now become the mainstay?
Yes.
Okay. So when you talk about creativity, are you talking sculpture, molding clay, doing artwork, drawings, or you do other things?
Yes, creativity is about how you position yourself. It's about your character. Even a doctor can be a creative art person, but he might not know. Because you go into the operation, the theater, you take the knife, you take this and that, you calculate time and other things, and it is about creativity. You know, we have some doctors, after operation and other things, they leave scissors and other things in the patient's body, which is not creative, which is not about creativity. Because if you are creative, you are always, you must be sensitive enough to take record of every equipment that you are taking to the theater. So when you come back to creativity, for instance, we have the listening and observing aspect. The listening and observing aspect is about performance, drama, storytelling, and others.
Now, storytelling is all gone. Now, we remember, we have fond memories of Mami Dokono by the fireside. You don't do any of those now. Do you gather the kids and tell them stories?
Yeah, during storytelling, I may use my methodology in teaching. So, the syllabus may ask you...
Yeah, here the syllabus, it says by week 5 of grade 3, you should teach listening and observing. This could include cassette player, video player, and all that. So how do you infuse storytelling into that?
So if we say listening and observing, it is left for the child to sit and then listen to whatever is going on, and then observe it, how it is being done. So the storytelling, for instance, I can go for these local Ghanaian films, then I will project it for them to watch. Then for some few minutes, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Then after that, questions will follow.
Okay, so last Friday, I attended a show at Alliance Française about slave trade and chains and shackles. And I enjoyed the play, the eloquence of the characters involved, the panache with which they acted. So do you stage drama at that basic level? Is there a stage on campus where you give them a story or a script and then they stage drama?
Yes.
When was the last time you did that?
That was, this is the first time we haven't got into that aspect, but previously, class 5, they did that.
What was the story about, and did you prepare them for that?
Good. As a teacher, you need to teach them. Then you give them the guidelines. Then you group them, and then ask them to pick any story of their choice, and then come and act for you to see.
Okay.
So during the acting, it is left for the teacher to correct the kids, to add and to subtract.
But you give them a free hand to express the artistic self
that is
in them.
You know, when you impose it on the children, they can't perform well. But if you give them the freedom to bring out any story of their choice, they are able to do it perfectly.
On this note, we go for a quick commercial break. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, lovely people of Africa, African Youth Time. This is the show, as I rightly said, that gives African youth the platform to have an up-close with living legends who are helping build the continent.
The youth of Africa, they have a lot of potential.
What is killing Africans is our inability to discover and identify our potentials and what we can do for ourselves.
Nobody makes you a leader. You become a leader.
We are not poor. The resources in Congo alone can feed the whole Africa.
Onipa how ene ne da chinti ena abribia wo sori prayer hwehwe na ahoto ne nso ema prekope en kukuhwe ase ene wo how bebre ene wo mu wenti ena Kantanka TV ya hwehwe dwumadie foforo kra ya tedi se edwasonsem wodwasonsem dwumadie so ne baba kne adwadifo ne abusa wo mo how ene wo mama ne wo mo efa mu na empo se edaw bitai akira a wode pre ahwehwe won da achen ahoto eno ti hia wo nua ba ama adwobi e wo Kantanka TV ne afa edwasonsem emfa mbro.
You're welcome back. Today we are having a very fruitful discussion with Mr. David Tenkran. He's a creative arts teacher at the basic level, and we are discussing the basic school modules and their effects on the kids. You may join the conversation now via phone, and the number to call us on is 0558 656899, and the number will be boldly shown on your screens pretty shortly. And Dave, I would want to ask you, when a teacher is motivated, then the quantum of work they do would have the needed impact. So how are the conditions of service for a basic school teacher like you? We can speak of the government side, but for a private institution, how are the conditions of service?
All right. For instance, where I'm teaching, the condition of service is quite okay. First of all, we have what we call the extra classes, which is organized by the school, and the kids don't pay anything. But at the end of every month, the school may pay us.
An added allowance?
Yes, as an allowance. Then, getting to Christmas, they also have packages for us.
I think you are reminding them that Christmas is just around the corner.
So they should get ready for us. Then
But generally, when you fall sick, you and your family are covered. They cover your wife and your children.
Yes, because we have welfare association.
Is there a sick bay in school?
Well, as for the sick bay, we were having it, but our number increased, and it was brought to a halt. Now we are putting up another sick bay for the children.
So you come, there's a little headache. They can tell you, go to the nearby pharmacy, treat yourself, bring us the receipts, and the school will cover.
No, as for that, no.
So how do you feel about that as a teacher?
This one-man business, they have their policies, and you cannot go and dictate for them. You can even try to speak, but it is left for them to either decide on or to reject it. But if you are sick and you are admitted at the hospital, the welfare, you have a percentage that the welfare is going to give to you.
And then this welfare union is only in your school. It's not like an association for private basic schools.
Yes.
So it's an individual effort for your school.
Yes. And we have so many private schools, they have the welfare association as well. They have it. They have it. And moreover, if the only thing the school can do for you is to give you a loan.
So you can access a loan?
Yes.
A loan to satisfy a need or a want?
Yes,
a need or a want? Maybe you want iPhone 10. Can you go to the school and then say you want a loan?
No, no. If you need something and the thing is really you need it upright, then it means the school can help you.
Okay. Away from that, I'll go a little personal to go into what you think about the teaching profession at the basic level. Are you happy doing what you are doing, or is the usual stopgap measure? I'll finish school, I'll do this for a while, then pursue my dream later?
I am really happy about my job, and that is what I'm going to do until I die.
Wow.
Because teaching is part and parcel of me. Right from childhood, I started exercising the teaching exercise.
The skills you have.
The skills, the knowledge. So as for teaching, I cannot stop teaching. Even if I have extra job doing, I'll make that job extra, and then the teaching be my main job.
And what makes you happiest? Is it the time you teach and the kids say, okay, well, we understand, or you just feel happy interacting anytime they come early in the morning, the innocence and all that? You think you are shaping their future to become the assets we want them to become in future? What tickles your fancy about teaching?
Yeah, I'm always happy to inculcate or to impact the knowledge I have gathered so many years into others. So that is why I love teaching so much. I don't want to waste the knowledge I have acquired in school alone, but I need to share as a good citizen of Ghana. I need to share it. And I have shared this knowledge, skills, and I have people in the university, others emulated my character. They chose to offer graphic designing, others visual art, others home economics. And I'm really proud about it.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And the books you have, for creative arts, it's unfortunate you couldn't bring us a copy today. Yes. What runs through, because what I have here is a reflection of what is in the syllabus: making pictures, drawing and color work, and letter code. Then there is pattern making, print making and lettering. And there is composition, listening and observing. There is performance. There is weaving and stitching. Oh, they weave.
Yeah.
So they can sew a smock like this. It's a very colorful smock. Okay. Then there is modeling and casting.
Yes.
They model.
Yes.
Ah, really?
And that's the current topic I'm teaching now.
Modeling.
So they will be having their practicals on Thursday.
Oh, I see. Then construction, assemblage, and paperwork. Then on the 14th week, you have revision. Yes. So can you take us through the content, the books? What are some of the books you use, and are you happy with the content?
Yes. The school has recommended Top Facts Creative Art. That is what we use, Top Facts Creative Art. And if you go through, I think it is at the level of the children. They are okay with it. But it is left for the teacher to add up to whatever is in the textbook, for the children to understand it.
So Top Act, that's the title.
Top Facts.
Top Facts.
That is the book that we are using.
So what do you have in there?
And they wrote the book based on the forecast, that the scheme of work from Ghana Education Service.
So it's GES approved?
Yes.
And is that what is used across board for creative arts?
Most of the schools. Most of the schools. That's what they use.
So take us through. Inside, for example, for modeling, you've mentioned a little on modeling. And casting, you talked about drama. You teach them, then they stage a play. And then we have letter call. The call is not the usual call.
It's a French.
C-O-L-L-E. What is that?
It's a French word.
What does that mean?
It's a French word. Letter
what
call.
goes into letter call?
Okay, it's about cutting of letters. For instance, when you take magazines or newspapers, we have big letters in them. You can take it, you cut the letters according to the shape of the letter. Then you arrange it, you paste it in your sketchbook to form a picture.
But Scramble isn't part of creative arts.
That is done at the preschool. Preschool. At our level, we have really upgraded ourselves, so we've moved from that.
You've upgraded,
yes.
so you've gone beyond
Yes.
that. And so that is letter co.
Yes.
And there is a workbook. Is different.
No, we don't have workbook for that. As for creativity, we don't have workbook. The practical is more as compared to the theory.
And then pattern making and print making, what goes into that too?
You see, at the basic level, we do the basics. But when you move ahead to SHS, to the tertiary level, then you do the matured one. So here, the print making, for instance, we can use ink in making the prints. And then we can also use dye. And this washing, the blue that we normally use at home for washing.
Yes, to wash.
We can also use it for this print making. And normally we don't want to go beyond the expenses of the parents at that level. So there is a recommended fabric that we use for schools. That's calico, grey baft fabric, or we go for handkerchief.
There's some of the parents, and Dave, some of the parents are complaining that you make too many demands. And you are saying that for creative arts, you dwell more on the practicals. So apart from settling the major fees, and does a couple have to provide anything extra for your class?
As if you are in my school, parents, some of them do complain that my child is bringing that and that, we should add it up to the school fees and other things. And you know, creativity is supposed to be done in 3 terms, term 1, 2, and 3. If you say you are going to put everything together for the parent too, it's going to be very difficult. Because first you need to buy books, you need to pay school fees, and add maybe buy school new uniform for your child. So what I do is that when I take the topic and there is going to be practical, you know, the demand is lower, is low. So if there is going to be practical, all that I have to do is to prompt the children 2 weeks before the practicals. And they are able to get it. But some of them, I think about, maybe if I take 100%, maybe 2% wouldn't be able to bring it.
So the usual, let me patch with you. You know, those times if your parents couldn't afford a textbook, you could share somebody's textbook. But these are materials you need to cut with pairs of scissors. So how do they share
And
for the less privileged
As a teacher, you also need to improvise. Sometimes the children, some may bring more than necessary. So it will give you the opportunity to get some for the one who didn't bring it for the class.
Okay, and we are beginning to wrap up. For sociability or socialization, in your class, Kwame Nkrumah for higher levels brought the boarding system. How do you see, because art is about connecting the dots, it's about relating with the things and the people around you. How are the children connected to each other, both during the lessons? Do you find a child cross over to someone's desk to help with work? How are they socializing?
Yeah, when it gets to creativity and I'm not around, you see these children going around looking for me because they really enjoy the creative art aspect. Now when you come to the class and the practical is going on, you know, children, they would like to giraffing, to see what the other person is doing. So it is left for the teacher to control the class.
Do you flagellate? Do you whip?
As for whipping, it's prohibited. We don't use the cane.
So how do you correct them?
We have we have so many ways that we use to correct the children. Sometimes I will isolate you.
During the practical work?
Yes. I'll just tell you what you should do, then I'll isolate you from your peers. Then, if not that, I'll ask you to come and sit beside me and do your work. Sometimes I'll ask you to go and sit at the back and do your work. Or I'll ask you to stand for a while.
There is a little feature we have. We'll go for that little feature. When we come back, Abena Safo reads your messages. We'll be back shortly.
From the very first day they put me on that row, I began to feel like I'm nothing. Yes. And they made us feel that the classroom is not for people like us. And not only me, but all those on this row. They gave us a name. They called us block-headed. In my local dialects, they will say Abonpa. A spotlight dawned on us, and it started with me. And this time round, I will prove myself in this class test.
Who did the work for you?
This one, I did it myself.
Hey, when our child is working?
She doesn't believe in my ability.
Go and do it again.
She makes me rewrite, and I rewrite.
Alice, come and do it here.
And I am writing it in front of her.
Is it training? You write it again.
What's the matter? But must I always fail?
We've been watching this for some weeks now, but sorry, David, we didn't forewarn you. Dave was struggling to force back some tears. Does this, maltreatment really happen in schools?
Yeah, it happens in some schools, but not in my school.
Not in your school?
Yes.
Okay. Abena, you're welcome. Abena, you see the woman, the madam there. When you see her, let us know. We have some few choice words for her. Okay, what do you have for us by way of messages?
Okay, I've got some few comments today. Say, Britain makes about 1 trillion a year from foreigners who come and study there. Ghana especially can do the same if proper structures in place, proper structures in place.
Okay,
this is from Shaka.
Okay, that I think it's in reaction to the KNUST story you did during the trending news. But we are not doing too badly. We have Chadians, Guineans, some people even from Equatorial Guinea that come here to pursue higher education.
Yeah, right.
And then as for Nigeria, a lot of students come from Nigeria.
Yeah. we can do more.
Yes.
In order to gain more, much money. And then the next one says, good morning, Irbad. I admire you, and I'm really proud of your hard work. God continue to bless you and move you higher.
Oh.
Stay blessed.
Oh, we appreciate, because me, I just sleep. I don't do any work. And the production team does all the work, and we appreciate everybody for the hard work they do behind the scenes.
That's okay. Well, he didn't add his name. And away from that, I will speak to teachers' motivation. I will speak on teachers' motivation, which I think should be taken seriously by school management. This is Alice from Takoradi.
Yeah, so your salaries are good. Don't mention, but you are good.
Yeah.
They are okay.
It's attractive.
Attractive, okay. Yeah, teachers are not on SSS, single spine salary structure, are they? No. You don't know about that. You are in the private sector. Okay.
And then the next one says, how well are materials and gadgets available for these people? Nathaniel from Paga.
You have one. Talk of gadgets. During the practicals in your class, do you allow them to use phones?
No, we don't use phones. But if we have a projector, we have internet, everything there. So if
and there's one caller. Let's see whether we can talk to the caller. Hello, your name and where you calling us from?
My name is calling from Accra.
Okay, and lower the volume on your set or put it off and speak up a bit for us, sir.
Okay, it's lowered now.
Yes, it's much better.
Yeah, so you see, in as much as let me say hello, good morning to your viewers, your production team for a very good job doing.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you see, our Ghana education system has become a hanky-panky game. Why I say hanky-panky game is that today when they come, it's 12 different subjects. The next time when they come is 10. The next time when they come is 8. They don't even involve the stakeholders. An instance is like PTA. They hardly involve the PTA. An instance is like a teacher is not involved. So if this government comes into place, then there's a model change. Another government comes, then it becomes a model change. It all boils down to us as a country that we do not have a national development plan, an agenda. So it's like we are doing try and error with our education system. So some will do 12 subjects, others will do 10, and then the government or the party in power's prerogative, the whole dynamism changes. And it affects we as individuals, we as a society. Assuming you live in the urban center and then the rural area as compared to the two, you tell somebody in a typical village like mine, you are doing ICT, where there's no electricity. How can you do information technology? When you ask a school girl of 6, at the age of class 6 or at the age of maybe 12 or 11, say, what is ATM? In a typical village, do you think that girl can mention what ATM is about? Okay. I found my daughter in class 1 and then she was asked, what is ATM? What is communication? At that age, within class 1, can my daughter define what is communication? What is ATM? You understand? So we need to look at particular things and do our segmentations well and do our program partitioning well. In as much as we do that, we can get it right. Because some of them are being trained, you know, in the developed countries, it doesn't happen like that. We copy or we're under the British colony. How does the British models work? How does we Ghanaians, our models work? Because if we shouldn't copy blindly, let's copy and copy wisely. The most painful aspect is that some of our leaders, those within our society, enjoyed much of free education, and then it was less. But now it has become a canker for all of us. So you find some people going to secondary school for 4 years, others will go for 2.5, others will go for 3 years. What kind of crop of generation are we putting up as a society, as a nation? I believe that we all need to come together to solve this problem. It's a shared responsibility. Education becomes a very key thing. As Kwachagri said, when you educate a man, you educate one person. When you educate a woman, you educate the whole nation. No nation can thrive without education. So we need to be particular about it and look at our subject matter as well, so we can have time. Thank you very much.
Thank you a great deal. Very insightful. Thank you so much. Abena, you take your last message, then we take recommendations. What things you want to see as a teacher? Okay, so you have 2 more, right? Okay, please do.
Okay. I don't see the reflection in creative arts in our JHS students. Anan sent him this one from Achim Ewisa. And the last one says, working and watching live from Dubai Discovery Gardens from Joycelyn Bauer. That's where we end our comments, our social media segment for today. I'll leave the rest to everybody.
Thank you so much, Abena Safo. And we greet you, people of Dubai. Maybe this Christmas, Abena, you have to go to Dubai on vacation. David, we are, closing the show now. You are a teacher, you are living the experience. In a minute or so, would I call them recommendations? What are the things you think should be changed so that you have a better output?
All right. Before I go on with that, the comment from Anand, he was saying he can't see creativity in
JHS students.
See, when you get to JHS, it is no more creative arts or creative, but it is basic design and technology, where we have aspects. You go in for home economics or pre-technical skills or visual arts.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. And so what are the things you want to see changed in order to make your work more efficient?
I would like the Ghana Education Service to set creative art clubs in the various schools so that we can work on the children who are very, very creative, who can innovate. And then we can come up with something out of these children. Because I quite remember one of the private schools, they use vortic bottles.
Like this one?
Yes, to make a vehicle. And I was so surprised. The vehicle can move as well. So these are the things.
Okay, thank you so much. And David Tenkran is a people's teacher. Dave, thank you so much for making time. And so we come your way on Friday with another edition. Stay blessed and keep watching Kantanka TV.